reacting to the President Trump's tweets yesterday attacking former ambassador to Ukraine, Marie Yovanovitch, during her public impeachment testimony. With the president tweeting as she was testifying, quote, "Everywhere Marie Yovanovitch went turned bad. She started off in Somalia. How did that go? Then fast forward to Ukraine, where the new Ukrainian president spoke unfavorably about her in my second phone call with him. It is a U.S. president's absolute right to appoint ambassadors." So, is that the president just speaking his mind, or is some charge, is it witness intimidation? Here's our legal panel. Mercedes Colwin, a Fox News legal analyst, Vinoo, a criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor. Welcome to you both. Mercedes, let me start with you. The president says he's just exercising his First Amendment.
Right.
This is a political process. He has every right to speak out, but the Democrats could use this, or could they use this as an article of impeachment?
Well, they could, and I want to just read the statute that's at issue, right? It's 18 U.S.C. 1515. It says, whoever knowingly uses intimidation, threatens, or corruptly persuades another person or attempts to do so or engages in misleading conduct toward that person to influence, delay, or prevent the testimony of any person in official capacity. The biggest issue here is the intent. There is, of course, that statute. I've actually litigated an issue regarding witness tampering. It's taken extremely seriously. In federal court right here in New York, there was an issue that came up in a civil proceeding that I was involved in. It is extremely, it's rare, but when it does happen, you have that statute.
Does this meet that standard, do you think?
The biggest offense that the president would have to that is, I didn't intend to do so. What I was saying is I was saying about this particular individual. That's, of course, the defense side. The prosecutor side, you read the statute stands for what it says. And it says clearly that if you try to intimidate someone, of course, the intent is an essential component of it, but it's still the same issue.
Vinoo, do you see that tweet as trying to influence someone, or just trying to influence everybody else about that person as she's testifying?
I think it's just Trump being Trump, right? So this is just more of the same. I don't think it rises the level of witness intimidation under criminal law. I think people have to remember here that impeachment it doesn't have to be defined under the criminal law. A high crime could be, they could technically impeach the president for having bad hair. So this is a political thing. Him going out and tweeting this, obviously trying to get his base to support. I think it's too far a stretch for the Democrats to say that this is witness intimidation. I think that what they should say is, why is he attacking this woman, this career diplomat, this career public servant? Shows you he's scared. Instead of calling it witness intimidation, address it for what it is. It's a response that comes out of fear.
Or just let the congressman deal with this issue. If you wanted to confront this particular witness or any of the witnesses in the process, let the congressmen come in forward and try and cross-examine these individuals. They're there to render testimony, so there's no issue with that. They could have brought that up during that hearing.
Well, you're speaking of the members of Congress. Here's one of them, Mark Meadows, a Republican, talking about this issue.
I don't know that it was an attack on the witness. It was really a characterization of her resume. And when you look at this, you guys want him to go in with no attorneys, no witnesses, no Twitter, no anything. At some point you got to say, when is it going to be a fair process? And today was not a fair process in there.
Well, Vinoo, what's going to happen next week? 8 witnesses, or we're going to have 8 tweets, 16 tweets, 24 tweets, 36 tweets, and on and on and on?
Probably a lot more than that. I think here, for President Trump, I mean, obviously he's never listened to his legal counsel, and he has his way of doing things. And for the Democrats, they just have to keep pushing this. That's saying that this fits what Ben Franklin thought, when talking about the impeachment, that this is a political solution to prevent violence, to prevent an executive who has been rendered or become obnoxious. In this case, when you're talking about a president of the United States conditioning aid to a country on investigating a political rival, to me, that fits the very definition of what high crimes could be under the impeachment rubric, not under a criminal rubric. So when Republicans are talking about quid pro quo, that's a good strategy for them, but the Democrats got to bring it back to say this isn't about straight bribery, and starting calling it, I think, is a mistake, and just focus on it.
That's what they're doing now. They're calling it bribery. The reports are, Wall Street Journal and Fox News confirming that the DNCC, that they've done focus groups to go from quid pro quo to bribery. Mercedes, do you think that bribery would resonate? They say the polls show that bribery, that word, resonates with the American people more than quid pro quo.
Well, interesting, because I think quid pro quo is a pretty simple fact. It's a simple theory to at least to influence individuals who are ultimately making the decision here. It is simple. It's this for that. This is something that the president allegedly was seeking in return for the aid.
Well, it's not allegedly. He's in the phone call saying, do us a favor, although military aid is not mentioned.
Exactly. So there is that way, of course. But we're in the thick of it. We're finishing up these hearings. We'll see what the witnesses say. But ultimately, I think that it's much simpler to proceed with that quid pro quo than it is for bribery.
Well, here's what the Wall Street Journal says about the issue of bribery. This is in today's editorial. Let me read it to you. It says, sorry, but bribery requires a specific quid pro quo. Mr. Trump asked Ukraine's president to investigate corruption, including Joe and Hunter Biden. No such investigation began. There was no quo. Even if an investigation had started, it is unlikely to qualify as a quo under the bribery law because it isn't specific and the tangible enough benefit like money. None of this absolves Mr. Trump of rotten judgment in all this, but it doesn't qualify as bribery. I mean, they're just saying, and they point out in the editorial, Vinoo, that you don't know, let's say they started an investigation. Let's say they say that the Hunter Biden, the Burisma, they did nothing wrong. So would that still fit the bill?
I think that I read that same opinion piece this morning. I think they're actually leaving out certain details as to timing of when things happened, and the fact that you had the whistleblower and the fact that aid, when it was known that there was going to be a whistleblower, the aid was released. So there's a lot of things here that's not mentioned in that. That being said, I think having Latin phrases as the way to go, I think is a political mistake for the Democrats. I think while it's a simple concept,
it's a very simple concept.
I 100% agree with you. Just say, look, get something. The president shouldn't be contingent, holding military aid on basis of investigating a political rival. I think these terms are dangerous for the Democrats.
Mercedes, quick.
Well, one new thing, too, about bribery, though, there was aid finally given. So maybe there may be that shift, right? I mean, if what we're talking about, there was a delay in giving the aid, but the aid was finally given, which we know to be a fact, maybe that's why there may be a shift right now and saying, well, maybe let's focus on quid pro quo. Let's focus on bribery because you actually can follow the aid, and the aid was given by the president.
Well, it's troubling to some people, though, if you have political consultants advising them on this. If that is the case, Vinoo and Mercedes, good to see you. It's going to be a jam-packed week this week.
Absolutely. Great to see you.
Thank you. Marthel?
Thank you.